The silver spires of the Galactic Council's capital world Centaurus Prime pierced the violet sky like needles of hope. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before the council chambers, her heart racing despite her calm exterior. This was humanity's moment. First contact with an advanced civilization that could help propel Earth into a new age of prosperity and discovery. How wrong they all were. The council chamber doors parted with a soft hiss. Inside, representatives of a dozen alien species sat in tiered rings ascending toward the chamber's peak. Their forms varied wildly, some humanoid, others entirely alien, but all emanated an aura of ancient power and wisdom. At the center stood High Counselor Xalfon, his crystalline form refracting the chamber's light. "Welcome, representative of Earth," Xalfon's translated voice echoed through the chamber. "We have observed your species for some time." Sarah bowed slightly. "We are honored to finally make contact. Humanity looks forward to peaceful exchange and cooperation with the Galactic Council." A ripple of what might have been amusement passed through the chamber. Sarah felt her confidence waver. "Yes, about that." Xalfon's tone shifted. "We have reviewed the history of your species extensively. Your potential for violence, your rapid technological advancement, your unpredictability. Every species has had its struggles." Sarah countered. "We've grown beyond our violent past. We seek only peaceful cooperation. Have you?" Another council member spoke, a being composed of shifting shadows. "Your species went from primitive combustion engines to crude space travel in less than a century. You split the atom and immediately weaponized it. You modify your own genome without understanding the consequences. That's not who we are anymore," Sarah insisted, feeling control of the situation slipping away. "Look at what we've accomplished." "Precisely." Xalfon cut her off. "What you might accomplish is exactly what concerns us. The Council has reached a decision. Humanity is deemed too unstable for integration into galactic society." Sarah's blood ran cold. "What are you saying?" "For the safety of all civilized species, humanity will be contained. There is a world far from established space, a death world, as your kind would call it. Tartarus. You will be relocated there." "You can't do this." Sarah's diplomatic facade cracked. "We are a sovereign species. We have rights. You have the right to survive, if you can." Xalfon's form pulsed with cold light. "The Council's decision is final. Your ships will be modified for one final journey. You have one standard rotation to prepare your people." "This is a death sentence," Sarah whispered, horror dawning as she realized the full implications. "Billions of people. If your species is truly as adaptable as you claim, perhaps some will survive." A shadowy council member seemed almost amused. "Consider it a test of your potential." As guards moved to escort her out, Sarah's mind raced. How could she tell Earth's leaders? How could they possibly evacuate billions? The Council had made their choice. Humanity would be exiled to a world designed by nature to kill anything that dared to live upon it. But in their rush to contain what they saw as a dangerous species, the Council had overlooked something crucial. Humans had evolved on their own death world. Earth itself had tried to kill them countless times through history, through ice ages and plagues, through natural disasters and mass extinctions. Each time, humanity had not just survived, but emerged stronger. They thought they were containing a threat. Instead, they were about to forge humanity into something far more powerful than they could imagine. As Sarah was led away from the chambers, she allowed herself a grim smile. The Council thought they were writing humanity's ending. They didn't realize they were only writing the prelude. The next 6 months passed in a blur of desperate evacuation efforts. The Council provided massive ships, more like floating cities, to transport as many humans as possible. They claimed it was mercy. Sarah knew it was just to ensure humanity couldn't keep any of their own spacecraft. When the final ships lifted off from Earth, carrying just over 2 billion souls, Sarah stood at a viewport watching her homeworld shrink away. Tartarus awaited, A world of acid rains and predators evolved in gravity nearly twice that of Earth. A world where even the plants were carnivorous and the bacteria could dissolve metal. "They think they're killing us," she murmured to herself. "But they're about to learn what happens when you back humans into a corner." The ships entered FTL, leaving Earth behind. Humanity's greatest test was about to begin. And despite everything, Sarah felt a fierce hope. After all, humans had a habit of surviving exactly where they weren't supposed to. The Council thought they were containing a problem. Instead, they were creating their worst nightmare. A humanity forced to evolve into something far deadlier than nature ever intended. The journey to Tartarus would take 3 months. 3 months for humanity to prepare for the greatest challenge they had ever faced. The game was about to begin, and humanity played to win. The descent to Tartarus was a nightmare of fire and screaming metal. Despite the Council's modifications, the massive evacuation ships were never designed to land on a high-gravity world with an atmosphere that ate through standard hull plating like acid through paper. Dr. Marcus Rivera watched from the bridge of transport ship Genesis as the first vessels attempted landfall. His expertise in xenobiology and environmental adaptation had earned him a place on the emergency command staff. Though right now, he felt helpless as a child. Hull integrity at 47%. The ship's AI warned. Atmospheric corrosion exceeding predicted rates. Marcus gripped his console as the Genesis shuddered violently. Through the view screen, he watched another transport crash land several kilometers away, its hull glowing cherry red from atmospheric entry. "Divert power to forward shields," Captain Yuki Tanaka ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos. "We're coming in hot, people. Brace for impact." The Genesis slammed into Tartarus's surface with enough force to shatter teeth. Emergency systems screamed as the ship plowed a kilometer-long trench through alien soil before finally grinding to a halt. For a moment, there was only silence broken by the hiss of cooling metal. Then Captain Tanaka's voice. "Status report. Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7. The AI responded. "Life support stable in primary compartments. External atmosphere. Toxic, but not immediately lethal. Gravity measuring at 1.89 Earth standard." Marcus pulled himself to his feet, already feeling the crushing weight of Tartarus's gravity. "We need to get everyone into environmental suits before we even think about going outside. That atmosphere will dissolve standard clothing in minutes." Agreed. Tanaka activated the ship-wide comm. "All passengers, remain in your designated areas. Do not attempt to exit the ship. Environmental preparation teams, report to your stations." Over the next several hours, Marcus coordinated with other scientists to analyze their new home. The results were sobering. The air was thick with corrosive compounds that would eat through unprotected materials. The soil contained high levels of heavy metals and radioactive elements. Even the local equivalent of plants seemed designed to kill. Early drone footage showed vegetation that moved to track motion and possessed razor-sharp edges. But there was something else in the data, something that made Marcus's scientific mind race with possibilities. "Captain," he called Tanaka over, "look at these mineral readings. The same compounds making the atmosphere so corrosive. They could be incredibly valuable if properly refined. And these energy signatures from the planet's core. Focus on keeping us alive first," Tanaka replied, though she studied the readings with interest. "We need shelter, food, and water before we can think about anything else." She was right, of course. The first week was brutal. Despite their preparation, they lost people to equipment failures, to the planet's predators, to simple accidents made deadly by the hostile environment. Every step outside was a gamble with death. But humans, as they had always done, began to adapt. Marcus's team discovered that certain local minerals, when properly processed, could create materials resistant to the corrosive atmosphere. Engineers began salvaging and modifying the ship's hulls, creating the first permanent structures. Hydroponics labs were established, growing earth crops in carefully controlled environments, while botanists studied which local plants might be safely cultivated. The gravity was perhaps the biggest challenge. Even with support suits, moving around was exhausting. But within weeks, Marcus noticed something fascinating, especially among the younger colonists. Their muscle and bone density is increasing at an unprecedented rate, he reported to Tanaka 1 month after landing. The high gravity is triggering accelerated adaptation. In a few generations, humans born here will be significantly stronger than Earth baseline. But it wasn't just physical adaptation. The harsh environment was forcing innovation at an incredible pace. Solar panels were useless under Tartarus's caustic skies, so engineers developed new power systems using the planet's abundant geothermal energy. When traditional materials failed, they created new alloys using local elements. When Earth crops struggled, botanists began selectively breeding hybrid plants that could survive in Tartarus's soil. 3 months after landing, the first true colony emerged from the wreckage of the transport ships. They called it Haven, a network of interconnected habitats and processing facilities, protected by energy shields reverse-engineered from the Council's technology. Marcus stood with Tanaka at Haven's main viewport, watching colonists in newly designed environmental suits working on the latest expansion. "We're not just surviving," he said quietly. "We're turning their death sentence into an opportunity. Everything that makes this planet deadly, we're learning to use it." Tanaka nodded. "The Council thought this place would break us. Instead, it's forcing us to become something new, something stronger." She turned to him with a slight smile. "How long before we can start turning Tartarus's gifts into something more interesting?" Marcus understood her meaning. Every challenge they overcame, every adaptation they developed, brought them one step closer to showing the Council exactly how badly they had miscalculated. "We're already working on it," he replied, "and we have all the time in the world." Outside, Tartarus's blood-red sun set on another day of humanity's transformation. They had been meant to die here. Instead, they were being reborn. 5 years into their exile on Tartarus, humanity had done more than survive. They had begun to thrive. Haven had grown from a single colony into a sprawling network of interconnected cities, each specializing in different aspects of survival and advancement. But it was what lay beneath these cities that would have made the Galactic Council tremble. Dr. Rivera stood in the newly completed Adaptation Research Center, watching through reinforced observation windows as the latest generation of Tartarus-born humans trained. At just 5 years old, these children moved through the crushing gravity with an ease that still astounded him. Their physiological changes are accelerating, Dr. Aria Santos, his chief geneticist, reported. Bone density is triple Earth baseline. Muscle fiber density has increased by 400%. And their neural adaptation to the environment's challenges, it's unprecedented. Marcus nodded, watching a young girl effortlessly lift what would have been impossible weights on Earth, and the cognitive enhancements. Off the charts. The combination of high gravity, constant environmental stress, and our targeted genetic optimization programs. Aria pulled up a holographic display of DNA strands. We're seeing evolution in real time. Each generation is adapting faster than the last. But it wasn't just human biology that was evolving. In the industrial sectors of Haven, engineers had mastered the art of working with Tartarus's unique minerals. What had once corroded their ships now formed the basis of their most advanced technologies. Captain Tanaka, now Governor Tanaka, joined them at the window. "Show them what we found in the deep mines," she ordered. Aria activated another display, this one showing crystalline structures that pulsed with inner light. "We're calling it Tartarite. It's some kind of naturally occurring quantum crystal. The energy density is, well, it makes nuclear power look like a child's toy." "And the Council never found it?" Marcus asked. "They never had reason to look," Tanaka replied. "Who would mine a Deathworld? But we've had no choice but to dig deep, to understand every aspect of this planet that could kill us. And in doing so, we found its gifts," Marcus finished. He turned to another display showing their latest military developments. The Council would never recognize the weapons they were creating. How could they? Humanity had been forced to think in entirely new ways, to develop technologies based on principles unique to Tartarus. But their greatest discovery came from an unexpected source. Dr. Chen Wang, a xenobiologist studying Tartarus's native life forms, had made contact with something extraordinary. "We're calling them the Deep Ones," Chen explained in the secure briefing room. "There's some kind of silicon-based hive intelligence that evolved in Tartarus's deeper caverns, and they're interested in us." The holographic display showed flowing, crystalline entities that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states. "They've been watching us since we arrived," Chen continued. "They've seen how we've adapted, how we've turned their world's challenges into advantages, and now they want to talk." Talk. Tanaka's eyes narrowed. "About what?" "Partnership." Chen smiled. "They've been waiting for someone who could survive here long enough to reach their level. They have knowledge, Governor. Knowledge about this planet, about technologies we've never dreamed of. And they're willing to share." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "The Council exiled us to the most dangerous planet they knew, thinking it would kill us. Instead, they've given us access to potentially the most advanced native species in the galaxy." The implications were staggering. With the Deep One's knowledge combined with human innovation and the unique resources of Tartarus, they could develop technologies far beyond anything the Council possessed. In the training area below, the children of Tartarus continued their exercises, their movements fluid and powerful despite the crushing gravity. They were the first generation of something entirely new. Humans evolved beyond what Earth had required, strengthened by the very forces meant to destroy them. Tanaka watched them with pride. "How long before the new ships are ready?" "The prototypes are in final testing," Marcus replied. "Tartarite power cores, hulls made of atmospheric-resistant alloys, weapons systems that harness the planet's corrosive elements. They're unlike anything humanity has ever built." "Good." Tanaka's expression was fierce. "Because it's time the Council learned what happens when you try to kill humanity. We're not just surviving anymore. We're not even just thriving. We're becoming something they never imagined possible." In the depths of Tartarus, the Deep Ones watched through their crystalline networks as their new allies prepared. They had waited eons for a species strong enough, adaptable enough, to partner with them. In humanity, they had found not just survivors, but kindred spirits. Beings who could take the deadliest environment and turn it into a cradle of advancement. The Council had meant Tartarus to be humanity's tomb. Instead, they had given humanity exactly what it needed to become the most formidable species in the galaxy, an impossible challenge to overcome. And now, after 5 years of evolution and advancement, humanity was almost ready to show the galaxy exactly what they had become. High Counselor Xalfon stood motionless in the Council's observation chamber, his crystalline form dim with concern as he studied the latest reports. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The monitoring probes near Tartarus have gone silent. The shadowy form of Counselor Nyx reported. All of them. Simultaneously. Impossible. Helhun's form pulsed with agitation. That would require technology we didn't give them, Nyx finished. Technology they shouldn't have been able to develop. Not on a Deathworld. Not in just 7 years. But the evidence was undeniable. The Council's careful observation of their human containment experiment had been completely blocked. And that wasn't all. "There's more," another counselor, a being of pure energy, interjected. "Our long-range sensors have detected unusual energy signatures from the planet's surface. Power readings that exceed anything we've recorded there before." "Show me." The chamber filled with holographic data streams. Xalfon analyzed them, his crystalline structure darkening further with each passing moment. The energy signatures were like nothing in the Council's databases. They showed patterns that shouldn't have been possible, utilizing principles the Council had never mastered. "We need to act," Nyx insisted. whatever the humans have become. Agreed. The Zalfan's decision was immediate. Dispatch the containment fleet. Full strength. We end this now, before it goes any further. But on Tartarus, humanity was more than ready. Governor Tanaka stood in Haven's new strategic command center, surrounded by displays showing the Council fleet's approach. Their old sensors, gifts from the Deep Ones, had detected the ships the moment they entered the system. Right on schedule, she remarked. They're as predictable as we hoped. Dr. Rivera nodded, studying the tactical displays. The Council ships were impressive. Massive vessels bristling with what they considered advanced weaponry. 7 years ago, such a sight would have terrified them. Now, all defense systems are online, Colonel Sarah Chen reported. The former ambassador had found her true calling in military leadership, helping to develop strategies that would shake the galaxy. Tartarate shields are at full power. The Deep Ones have confirmed their support. Through the quantum crystal communications network, technology the Council couldn't even detect, let alone understand, they could see the entire battlefield. The Council fleet was arranging itself in traditional attack formation, preparing to deliver their judgment. They had no idea what awaited them. Begin Phase 1, Tanaka ordered. Deep beneath Tartarus's surface, massive generators powered up. The planet's corrosive atmosphere, now controlled by human technology, began to shift. Energy fields, based on principles learned from the Deep Ones, rippled across the space around the planet. The Council fleet's first sign of trouble came when their weapons failed to fire. Their energy weapons rely on principles that don't work here anymore, Dr. Santos explained, monitoring the effects. We've changed the fundamental forces in this region of space. To them, it would be like trying to start a fire underwater. But humanity's weapons had been designed in this environment, had evolved with it. The first wave of Tartarus-built ships rose from the planet's surface, their hulls gleaming with metal that should have been impossible to forge. They moved with impossible grace, piloted by humans born in high gravity, their reflexes and reaction times far beyond what the Council had expected. They're in position, Chen reported, ready to engage. Tanaka nodded. Show them what humanity has become. The battle that followed would be spoken of in whispers across the galaxy for centuries to come. The Council fleet, stripped of their technological advantages, found themselves facing weapons they couldn't comprehend. Beams of concentrated atmospheric corrosion that ate through their strongest shields. Gravity weapons that crushed their ships like tin cans. And through it all, the Deep One's crystals sang their ancient songs, disrupting any attempt at coordination or retreat. In the Council chamber, Zalfan watched in horror as the pride of their civilization was systematically dismantled. Impossible, he whispered. They were primitives. We gave them nothing. That world should have killed them. No, Nyx corrected, their shadowy form trembling. We gave them everything. We gave them the perfect forge to remake themselves. We gave them a world that would kill anything that didn't become stronger. We gave them the means to surpass us, Zalfan finished. On Tartarus, Tanaka watched as the Council fleet retreated in disarray, leaving their disabled ships behind. Humanity's first test against their would-be executioners had been a complete victory. Send the message, she ordered, across every Council communication channel, in every language they knew. Humanity's response to their exile was broadcast. You sent us to die. Instead, we have become what you feared most. We are no longer the primitive species you dismissed. We are humanity forged in the fires of Tartarus, and we are coming to claim our place in the galaxy. The storm wasn't rising anymore. It had arrived. And the galaxy would never be the same. The great halls of Centaurus Prime, once symbols of the Council's absolute power, now stood silent as humanity's representatives walked their length. Governor Tanaka led the delegation, her steps heavy with purpose in the lower gravity. Behind her came Dr. Rivera, Dr. Santos, Colonel Chen, and a being that made the Council members recoil. A Deep One, its crystalline form flowing like liquid starlight. The Council chamber, unchanged after 7 years, seemed smaller somehow. High Counselor Xalfon waited at its center, his crystalline form dulled with defeat. "You have won your freedom," he began, but Tanaka cut him off. "Freedom?" She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We're not here to negotiate our freedom. We're here to negotiate yours." The chamber erupted in outrage, but a single gesture from the Deep One silenced them. Its crystalline matrix pulsed with ancient power, reminding them that humanity hadn't come alone. 7 years ago, you saw us as primitives, Tanaka continued. You sentenced us to death on the most hostile world you knew. Now, we've come to thank you. Confusion rippled through the council. Thank them. Yes, thank you. Dr. Rivera stepped forward. You gave us exactly what humanity needed. An impossible challenge. A crucible to forge ourselves into something new. Something stronger. He activated a holographic display, showing the transformed surface of Tartarus. Where once there had been only death and corruption, now vast cities rose, their architecture unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Power collectors harnessed the planet's corrosive atmosphere. Ships of impossible design moved through skies that would dissolve conventional matter. But more than that, Dr. Santos added, you gave us teachers. She gestured to the Deep One. An ancient race that had mastered Tartarus long ago, waiting for worthy partners. We learned from them, and they learned from us. Together, we've developed technologies that your council never imagined possible. And now, Colonel Chen's voice carried the authority of someone who had seen both sides of this conflict. We're going to reshape the galaxy, not through conquest, but through change. The Deep One moved forward, its voice resonating directly in their minds. The humans have proven themselves worthy of the knowledge we have kept hidden for eons. They faced our world's challenges not with fear, but with innovation. They did not merely survive. They transformed survival into transcendence. Xalfon's form flickered with distress. What are your demands? Demands. Tanaka laughed. We don't make demands. We're making announcements. First, humanity and the Deep Ones are declaring ourselves a united civilization. The technologies we've developed on Tartarus will be offered to any species willing to prove themselves worthy. Second, Rivera continued, we're opening Tartarus to anyone brave enough to join us. Your Deathworld is now the crucible where species can choose to transform themselves, as we did. And third, Chen finished, we're abolishing the Council's policy of species containment. No more exiling races you fear. No more playing God with developing civilizations. The galaxy is about to enter a new age, one of transformation and growth. The council chamber was silent. The representatives of a dozen ancient species looked at each other, realizing that their comfortable order was ending. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had completely upended the galactic status quo. You fear change, the Deep One observed, as you feared humanity. But change comes whether you fear it or not. The only choice is whether you change and grow, or stagnate and fade. Tanaka stepped forward one last time. 7 years ago, you tried to write humanity's ending. Instead, you wrote the beginning of a new chapter for the entire galaxy. The question is, will you be part of it? One by one, the council members looked at each other. They saw the power humanity now wielded, the impossible technologies they had mastered, the ancient race that had chosen to stand with them. They saw a future they couldn't control, couldn't predict, but one that offered something they hadn't had in millennia, the chance to grow beyond their limitations. The council, Xalfon finally spoke, his voice heavy with resignation and perhaps a touch of hope, recognizes the combined civilization of humanity and the Deep Ones as a sovereign power. We welcome this new age. As Tanaka and her team left the chamber, she smiled at a private thought. The council had meant to contain humanity's potential for change, seeing it as a threat. Instead, they had created exactly what the galaxy needed, a species forged in fire, tempered by impossible challenges, and ready to lead the galaxy not through force, but through transformation. The story of humanity's exile was over. The story of humanity's emergence and the galaxy's transformation was just beginning. In the skies above Centaurus Prime, the first of many Tartarus-forged ships began landing, bringing with them the tools and technologies that would reshape civilization. The galaxy had wanted to write humanity's epitaph. Instead, they had written their own revolution. And humanity, the species that turned a death sentence into transcendence, would lead the way into this brave new future.